They called it Blackthorn Woods, a stretch of dense, shadow-cloaked trees where even the most reckless adventurers wouldn't dare step foot after sundown. The stories around the place were a patchwork of whispers. People vanishing, strange lights flickering through the treetops, voices that didn't belong to anything earthly calling your name from the heart of the forest. Everyone in the nearby town had their own reason to avoid it. Everyone, that is, except 16-year-old Ella. Ella wasn't reckless, just curious. The kind of curious that made her feel like the truth of everything hid behind those gnarled trunks, and that somehow the forest held answers only she could uncover. As she stepped past the line of brambles and entered Blackthorn Woods, the air seemed to change. It wasn't the cold that unnerved her, it was the silence. Ella pressed on, the beam of her flashlight bouncing off tree trunks scarred with strange symbols she couldn't quite place. The deeper she went, the stronger the feeling grew, that sensation of being watched. At one point, she could have sworn she heard footsteps that matched her own. She froze, turned, pointed her flashlight, but all she saw were trees and emptiness. Or so she thought. Right over her shoulder, the faintest trace of movement, a dark shadow, too fast and too formless to be human. She told herself it was her eyes playing tricks in the dim light, that fear was painting monsters out of shadows. But then she began to notice patterns, branches that curved and knotted in unnatural symmetrical twists, piles of stones arranged in spiraling shapes that made her head ache if she stared too long. Even the dirt beneath her feet seemed unnervingly smooth in some spots, like it had been swept clean by hands not her own. And then she heard it, a soft, distant sound like humming weaving through the trees. It wasn't a song any human lips could form, though. It was too low, too mournful, almost like the forest itself was keening. Against every instinct screaming at her to leave, Ella followed the sound. She didn't know why. She had no explanation. It was as if some unseen thread had wound itself around her and was pulling her forward. She came to a clearing, a perfect circle where the sky above was choked by branches, blocking out even the faintest trace of moonlight. At the center was an ancient tree, its bark mottled and glowing faintly green in the dark, and beneath it, she found something that made her breath catch, an old locket, its chain tangled around a withered root. She knelt to pick it up, her fingers trembling. The moment she touched it, everything changed. The humming stopped, the air turned ice cold, and the shadows stretched, closing in around her. She spun in all directions with her flashlight, but it barely pierced the ink-black darkness. And that's when she saw them. Eyes, hundreds of them, gleaming from within the trees. Too many, too close, none of them human. A whisper cut through the silence as clear as a bell. "You don't belong here." Ella's scream shattered through the stillness as the locket slipped from her hand. She turned and ran, her breath hitching, heart pounding as the forest seemed to grow impossibly vast around her. No matter which way she ran, the symbols carved into the trees reappeared, as if the forest itself were leading her in circles. When she finally broke free of its grip, stumbling into the safety of open fields beneath the night sky, she dared to look back. Nothing was there, just trees, just stillness. But when she reached for her journal, her comfort, her proof, it was gone. The only thing in its place was the faint smell of earth and an unmistakable feeling she had been warned. For days, Ella tried to tell herself she imagined it all. The whispers, the lights, the eyes, but deep down she knew better. Blackthorn Woods wasn't just haunted. It was alive, and it was watching.